Hey, I'm Joe from London. I shoot RAW, and this is my RAW file edit for Jared Poland and Frono's Photo. Just wanted to say thank you to Jared and to Adam for your continually brilliant content that you put on YouTube. I always find it encouraging and educational as well. But we're going to get straight into the photo here. This beautiful portrait, just straight off. I love the low saturation in the colours. I think I'm going to run two edits here if that's okay with you guys. I'm going to do a colour one to start with, but then whack it into black and white and see what we can do there. Alright, so we're going to start things off over here in the temperature. It looks close to me, maybe a touch green, but what I like to do is whack it in auto to see what it does. Okay, and that's gone far too far. I shouldn't really whack it in auto because it probably throws your eye off. But I'm going to put it back as shot, and that shows me that it could do with a little bit of warmth. And I think it's a touch green, so I'm going to go with round about there. Exposure, I'm going to dial it back just a touch. Looking at the histogram up here, you haven't got much in the black, so I'm going to dial some blacks in as well. Using that backslash key, you can instantly already see the differences. Right, we'll whack a bit more exposure in. The exposure will leave the same. We're going to up the contrast. Not too much. I quite like the softness in this image. Put a bit of fill light in. Alright, because I like the softness, and the depth of field is really great, but what I'm going to do in the tone curve, I'm going to first whack it up to strong contrast. You can see the differences it makes there. And then ram the highlights in. If we go to our history and look at the changes that makes. There's the before. Highlights. Just pumps it in just a bit. I'm going to bring back to medium contrast. Bring back the highlights just a bit here. Bringing the shadows is another form. I'll look more into the tone curve on my black and white edit. I'm going to bring back the saturation just a touch. Probably working it around 15 there on the saturation. I like the low saturation in the colours. We're not going to mess around with the colour luminance, anything at all. Hold on, actually we will. We're going to touch the blue luminance. Alright, and the saturation of the blue as well. Just focusing on the region here in the eyes. So the luminance we're going to add about 25 there, and the saturation will put it up about 10. And again, use your history bar always up on this corner to go back to see what you've just done. There with the blues. Bring it back in. And then the before. There's the before. And that's what we're working on with now. I'm going to go back to the clarity and just make it a touch softer than the clarity. So dialing the clarity down. Dial the clarity down. It really gives that softness. Not too much. We're going to put it at around about 13. I really like the softness in this image. I really like compositionally, it's a great photo. We're not here to critique it, but we're giving it the general sharpening. I go to 80 on the sharpening. So type 80 in there. In that box. We're using Lightroom 2 here for this photo. And the computer is running slightly slow, so sorry for any lag at all that you see on the screen. And then we'll whack the masking to 90. So it's just sharpening the edges there. I don't think we're going to bring any vignette. I think it's fine as it is. What I'm thinking is slight vignette, not to darken the edges, but to make them a bit brighter. So if we go plus, let's go plus 30, see what that does. Because it will really bring your eye into the main subject of the portrait. Alright, and just to finish, we're going to play around with the eyes just a little bit. And what we're going to do in our brush tool here, we're going to go into our brush stroke, and here we're going to up the saturation of the eyes. Give it a 40 and you can see the difference that it will make. Then in here, and then we're going to up it even more till we get to about 60. Right, so just to really make the eyes pop, let's close that. What I normally do is go to the crop and then close, just because that's how I work it. And we're going to leave the colour version like that. So we're going to create a virtual copy. We're going to work off the colour version rather than the original, because then I don't have to make changes to the exposure as much or the white balance and stuff. So all we're going to do, whack the saturation down completely. Let's have a look at what we got. Okay, on this, alright, so it's got exactly the same changes that we made to the colour version, but we're going to up the contrast even more. We're going for quite a highly contrasted black on white, so we're going to push the contrast to 100. The blacks are already on 20, we're going to leave it at that. The exposure I like a lot. Now this is where we're going to come into the tone curve, because Jared is often using the blacks and the fill lights to push his contrast to 11, to push it past the 100 that you can already get here. And so just what I sometimes do is to go into the tone curve and really work on these tones to really give your contrast that extra edge. Alright, so we're going to bring the highlights back to normal. Alright, so there's your highlights, and I'll bring the highlights back in, but firstly we're going to work on the shadows and bring them down quite a lot to around 40. We're going to go with 40 in here. And again, that's the beauty of Lightroom. Lightroom is, for me, the best editing software, or minus 40 more like, not plus 40, is the best editing software because you can drag these sliders along and see instantly what happens. As I say, my computer's lagging a bit because I've got the recording going. Alright, so let's have a look what we think of this black and white. And there, once we drag those blacks, we've gone to plus 11 on the lights, minus 13 on the blacks, and we're going to bring the highlights back in just a touch. And again, we're just to round it off, we're going to, with the eyes, because the saturation hasn't made that difference, we're going to bring a bit of exposure into the eyes. So around 50 on the eyes, and then come in with our exposure plus 50, and then come in over here. But 50 is too much, you see it pops it too much there. So you're just going to bring it to 18. Just pop those eyes slightly, and let's see how they look from a distance. Yep, that's nice. That's where I'm going to leave the eyes. Obviously you don't want to go too far with the eyes. I think maybe I'm going to leave them like that, but maybe it's gone a touch far because it makes it look maybe a bit touch unnatural. Remember, use your history to look what it was before and what the changes you've made to bring it in. Alright, the black space, we have our original photo. There's our black and white. Moving over to the colour version, there's the original. Before, and then when we bring it in, there's our colour version. Any changes that we want to make, I think I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, so this has been my raw edit. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully I can work out the camcorder as well. Go Bears for the new NFL season. Just to conclude, I run my own photography channel right here on YouTube. So make sure to tune into that. It's Joeboy Vlog, or just search Photography Thursdays in the YouTube search bar and you'll find me. It'll be great for some of the Frono community to show their support. I'm a fellow Frono supporter. So yeah, tune into that. Thanks Jared for everything you do. And yeah, I really like this new raw edit twist. Alright, thank you guys, bye.